so this is the full council meeting today, Thursday, the 14th of January. Public question time. I have one question, and this has come from Julie Coyne, who is from East Hertford. She starts off her email by saying she thoroughly enjoyed the Christmas Eve video of Santa flying over Cramlington on Christmas Eve, and thanks us all for that. Her question is concerning the area in the corner of Mortimer Chase, which leads onto the path to Bog Houses. It is overgrown and an eyesore, according to Julie. For a response, I am handing you over to Bob Baker, our town clerk. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, Chair. Mayor, Town Mayor. We discussed this a while ago, and the general conclusion we reached was that it wasn't necessarily an appropriate location for town council funding, and that any funds available would be better applied elsewhere in the village where they would benefit a higher number of people. The area that is being proposed was tidied up, the bushes were cut back and generally just kept tidy. Although Mrs. Coyne does make the point that a lot of people use that path, that's not necessarily my understanding in normal times. And as Darragh will testify, we have had problems in that area, actually with finding various bits of drug paraphernalia and general antisocial behaviour. So my proposal some time ago was to actually use any funding elsewhere to provide an additional bench or flower garden area. One thing I did, since reading Mrs. Coyne's question, it occurred to me that as they are so keen to see that done, and they've actually offered to maintain it, well, why don't we simply give them a small grant to purchase and give it to some form of community group that you may wish to form?
Right, okay. Barry, do you wish to comment on what Bob has said?
Yes, I do actually. I actually think that you've got a mistake there, Bob, because the area which we've seen drug paraphernalia and such like is actually around the woods, and this is a slightly different location. I'd also state that some of the things you've suggested in your answer there haven't actually been communicated to me as a ward member. The fact that I'm prepared to put monies in from my small members scheme for this, and I'd be very keen that we actually look proactively to support what has been suggested by Julie Coyne sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Bob?
Just for clarification, which members' small scheme are we actually talking about? Is it the county council or the town council?
Yeah, I'm quite happy, so long as I can get stuff that meets the criteria to provide funds to do this.
No, the question was it the county council?
Yeah, I've answered. It's a county council small members scheme fund.
Oh.
I'm quite happy to work with the town council if they wish to work with it. That's all.
Well, perhaps it could be the county council that take the scheme on and take on maintenance.
Darryl, you had your hand up?
Yeah, it was just for clarity, really. We haven't charged anything to your small business schemes as of yet, and just reiterating what the town clerk's just said. We just feel that the hammerhead at the bottom of Ormston Street.
Darryl, I'm sorry, I don't think it's me, but I don't feel you're very clear.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, now I can. Yeah, just
right,
if you
okay.
could speak up. I think Paul was having problems as well.
All right, okay.
Sorry. Yeah, that's brilliant.
So we feel that the area, the hammerhead at the bottom of Ormston Street, just isn't suitable for that type of capital project. In my eyes, for that type of scheme, you want that somewhere more central in the village, because what's going to happen is the people that live there will see that scheme, they'll visit it once or twice, and then that'll be it. They'll never look at it or view it again, in my experience. So what we're kind of suggesting is to find an alternative location somewhere like the community centre area around Scott Street, because it's very central. And the thing about the community centre is that brings external people in from outside of the village. So they're not necessarily going to go to that hammerhead if they were visiting the village. Does that make sense? Am I making myself quite?
I understand what you're saying, but it might be useful if I, as a ward member, actually was involved in some conversations in this. It seems to me that conversations are going on around the town council, and that myself, as a ward member who's willing to put funding into this, has been cut out somewhat, and I'm not actually particularly pleased with that. And I do hope that this can be resolved sooner rather than later, so that something positive can come forward.
Oh, Barry, trust me, I think we all do. But thank you for that, Wayne.
Yeah, so two things, if I can, Mayor. Just if I can deal with this one and then come to the second point, it is related. So I think what you read out was that it appears to be two issues. One is the residents saying that it's a bit overgrown and a bit untidy and stuff.
Yes.
So I don't know whether, Darryl, you've been out or you're planning to go out just to do a bit of a sense check on it. And so I think, so that's one element of it. And the other thing is if something can be done, or I mean, clearly some kind of memorial huge feature at the end of a cul-de-sac might not be appropriate, but it might well be there's something. So what I'm more interested in is that element of the question, which says it's a bit overrun. So I don't know if I don't, Darryl, you'll know the answer to this question. Whose land is that on? Is that county or is it private? Or
the area that the Councillor Flux is referring to is county. It is county land. It's a highway verge. But we are looking at doing some work next week just to do a bit of a general tidy up in East Hartford. I spoke to some colleagues today from the partnership team, and we are looking to get that sorted next week.
Right. Okay. That's fine. So if we can have a look, because unless I misheard the question, Mayor, it seemed to be two things. One was the state of it, and the other one was if you can do something with it. So if we can deal with the issue about it, you know, allegedly being untidy, and I don't know because I've not been down there, so pick up that one and then have a conversation with Councillor Flux and Councillor Hurd about what may or may not be possible there. And if I can just pick up the was it Mrs. Coyne? Sorry, I think I heard that.
Yes.
Yeah, I would just like to echo what she said about the Christmas video, and I just want to put a huge thank out to Graham Hare from Northburn in Cramlington, who did all of the production work for us, and to Jane, who is on the call somewhere. There she is in the top of the corner, who helped him. I helped a little bit as well, but it was a genuinely no-cost community effort. And I think the last time I looked, the 3 Christmas videos that were done, which were the 2 teasers about Christmas Eve and then the Christmas Eve video, they attracted over 15,000 views. And I think that is absolutely phenomenal. So I just want to say a huge well done to everybody, and particularly Graham Hare, who I think did a sterling job. So absolutely echo that point now.
Sure.
Thank you, Wayne.
Could I just ask one question before we leave this item? Yep. We've seen a letter from Mrs. Coyne, whose house, of course, is more or less adjacent to the site that's being discussed. Have any other residents asked for this scheme?
Barry?
I've not had direct correspondence about it, and I wouldn't suggest it is actually adjacent to a house. It's actually a slight distance away from a house. It's also pointed out about the gas light fitting there, which would make a really nice feature, which would, I ensure, get support from across the village. And I would be very keen to support that where I can support that.
Okay. But as far as you know, no one else has mentioned it, Barry?
Well, it's quite difficult to go and find out.
No one else. Sorry, no one else.
But I'm quite happy if we want to go and get some comments from people in the village who are supportive of it before we move forward. I'm quite happy for that to happen.
Of course, but no, the question was just no one else has contacted you about it, just Julie.
Yes, correct. Just Julie has contacted me about it.
Thank you. Okay. So are we okay with this then? So we're going to get the rubbish removed, or it's going to be tidied up, and then we are going to move on after that with regards to the other stuff that Mr. Flux would like for. So when you say the village, I get really confused, but East Hartford Village. Okay.
I just say, Chair, I'm quite happy to sort of for the county council to undertake this scheme.
Okay. So.
Yep.
So will you contact them, Bob, or?
I mean, it's coming from county council funds essentially.
Yeah, if I can have funds from the county council, I'll look to put funds there.
Okay, Barry. So we're all okay on this question, are we? Are we done? Okay. And as far as I'm aware, there are no other questions, unless anyone's going to correct me. Can we move on to the main meeting, please? Right, you all have your agendas in front of you. Right, agenda item 1, apologies for absence. I understand that Pat isn't coming, although she may come. She rang me just before the meeting. She may turn up, but if not, please apologies.
Councillor Mitchison.
Health issues, I think. Okay.
Councillor Mitchison, Chair.
Sorry, Bob?
Councillor Mitchison has sent her apologies.
Beg your pardon, Councillor Mitchison. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Councillor Percy, no?
No apologies have been received by Councillor Percy.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Right, agenda item 2 then, Town Mayor's announcements. Well, of course it's going to be about COVID, isn't it? Do we ever talk about anything else? It would appear that Northumberland's figures are going down or are not increasing as much as some other areas in the county, in fact the country. But I urge all our residents, please, to redouble your efforts. We've got to kick this virus into touch, and please encourage others to do the same. Whilst I appreciate I'm probably talking to the converted, please try and get others to show some personal responsibility. Barry, I'll get to you in a minute. And please only leave home when it is absolutely necessary. Just think that every time you go out of your front door, you're putting yourself in danger. And if you can get used to that kind of idea, then hopefully we'll kick this thing into touch. Thank you. That's all I've got to say. Barry, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I at the county council am very pleased that I chair a meeting about COVID, and we had a meeting today. We can't understate the praise the county council for what they've done in terms of this COVID response, and I know that town council are working hand in glove with them, and are really pleased to work in a partnership with the county council on such issues, because it's so important. There's an important dashboard on the county council website, and I heard today that it's had over 1 million hits so far. The dashboard is useful in terms of seeing numbers and seeing ward data and such like, and I believe there'll be more data than there in due course. So I'd recommend that anyone who's got an interest, in looking about what the true facts are in terms of figures and such like, it's a useful resource, firstly for the dashboard and for other links into the county council. From that, it's just straight on the front page of the county council website.
Right, thank you for that, Barry. Thank you very much. Okay, agenda item 3, minutes of last meeting. Somebody like to propose them as a true record, please? Paul, thank you, and seconded by Christine. Thank you. Or Mark, take your pick. Adam. Right, okay, agenda item 4. Are there any disclosures of interest? None, thank you. Agenda.
Chair, sorry, on the disclosure of interest, it doesn't apply to me now that I'm a nobody, but
join the rest of us, Wayne.
I know, but town council budget and precept. I did previously, because I was deputy leader of the county council, disclose that and not take part in it. I think Christine, I think Mark, you're all right. Christine, I think you're okay, but Barry, because you're on cabinet.
I think my position's gone up since our last budget, so I think just to keep ourselves safe, I won't take any part in that debate. I'll turn my screen off and come rejoin the meeting once you finish discussing it.
Yeah, it's better to err on the side of caution, which is why I flagged that up.
Yeah, just for clarity, Chair,
Chris, sorry, Christine.
Declaration of interest would relate to anyone who is an office holder or an executive member at County Council.
Okay.
Yeah.
Christine, did you want to add?
Wayne said, yeah.
I wanted to disclose an interest. I'll not turn the screen off because obviously Norman is still going to take part in the meeting, but I'll say nothing.
Okay. Right then. Agenda item 5, Town Council budget and precept for 2021-22, and it's over to Bob's going to introduce it, I understand.
Yeah, but not much to say actually, Chair. The Council agreed a draft budget for next year at its last meeting, and that budget was subject to consultation. Unfortunately, we received no responses to consultation, and on that basis, I would ask the Council to confirm the papers that were previously considered at its last meeting, which means that the Council, the precept would remain unchanged at £113 for a Band D equivalent property. Reminding you, of course, that 88% of properties in Cramlington fall between bands A and C, so a relatively small number would be D and above. But that was the situation. If members have any questions on the papers that were previously circulated, more than happy to answer them, but that is the basis of next year's budget.
Thank you. Well, no one's going to request that they go up, are they? Yes, Mark.
Thank you, Chair. It was just a highlight, I know it was pointed out last time, in section 2.3 in that first sentence, we mentioned last time there's the double negative there. Just if any members of the public were reading that, just to point out that there's a word needs to be deleted from there, just to avoid any confusion.
Right, thank you. Wayne?
Thank you, Mayor. And again, we've had versions of this report at a number of meetings, and I know that we've all had our opportunity to have a say, as indeed have the community of Cramlington, because this has been on the Facebook page and the council website. So there has been, I think, a lot of information out there about what the plans are. So for me, I think the really interesting part of this maturing of Cramlington Town Council, because we were created, I think, about 11 years ago now, is a mature council. So we are still maintaining our focus on, obviously, the greening of Cramlington, making sure that it's clean and tidy and a great place to get out and walk. Brilliant. But we're also having a very much a people-based approach now as a town council that's using and understanding the importance of our community and the individuals who sit within our communities as major assets to continue the improvement of this town. So some of the examples of that, well, you can see on the call tonight, we've got Steve and we've got Maggie, who are both sitting within our community and youth department, and their reach out into the community, be it with youth groups, be it with Aging Well, be it with uniform groups, sports groups. They are touching every element of our community, as we do as councillors as well, but actually in a really systematic and very planned way to actually use the assets within our town of the people to actually improve and continue to improve the town. So I think, for me, absolutely, yes, the flowers which are going to come in later this year, the cutting of the grass, the maintaining of the litter collection, all those things, absolutely vital. The stuff you see on your doorstep when you open your front door, vital. But for me, one of the key things on this is the commitment that this council has to our communities and the individuals who sit within it. So I think if anybody's watching this at home, you are absolutely part of the network of Cramlington, and we'll be putting appeals out to you to get involved in knit and natter groups, to get involved in youth and community groups. There is some phenomenal stuff about to happen over the next few months with some places and buildings in Cramlington, and those will make a huge difference to the lives of everyone in our town, not just young people, older people as well, and everybody who's in the middle. So I think this budget absolutely reflects the commitment that we have as a town council on recognising the huge strength that people have in our communities. So on that basis, I commend the budget to the council, 0 increase and lots and lots of investment in the stuff that really matters to people. So I'm very happy, as you might tell.
Yeah, well, me too. Yes, and several people have put in their thumbs up, so that's good. Me too. And I think once again, Cramlington was ahead of the game in their appointment of the new staff, which you've just mentioned, Wayne, which is great. Can we move on to agenda items?
So, Chair, just to formally confirm that the council recommends the acceptance of the budget as outlined in the paper to the...
I believe that's a yes, Bob. I'm sorry, I did say
yes.
Several people had their thumbs up. Are we all okay with this? Any objections? No. Any objections, Paul?
No objections. I just wanted to thank John for having prepared a very nice budget, and also Bob for having done a great job. So sometimes these things get ignored. So thank you.
Right, okay then.
And
Okay, Bob?
Adam as well.
Of course. Yes, Adam.
Okay.
And Daryl.
Right, okay. Can we move on, please, to agenda item 6?
Sorry, Chair.
Oh,
I believe we've got
are people sleeping tonight or what?
No. It's not to do with the. I just want to say a member of the public is joining the meeting. I don't know if it's just worth obviously outlining to them that they will they can't take part and they must remain needed. Is that okay? Okay,
right, fine. Yes. Okay. Right, third time lucky. Can we move on to agenda item 6, please? Conclusion of audit 2019-20, and that's over to you, John.
Thank you. Well, fortunately, it's very brief. You should have had this report back end of last year, but it doesn't matter. You were those with a good memory will recall that last May you approved your annual return. It duly went off. There were no queries. We extended the public inspection period by an extra 2 weeks over and above what we should have done, and we still had nobody asked the question. And as I've said before, I attribute it as the fact that you generally have an open book, so if anybody's got a question at any time, we're always happy to answer. The internal auditor seems to be doing a really good job. He's sort of had to come up to speed with how we operate, the rules and regulations, and he seems to have grasped that really well. He's asked me a few questions, but they tend to be more about how we operate and our procedures. He hasn't actually come up with what we would class as a query, and he will be submitting a report in March, provided there's a council meeting. So if there are any questions, I'm too happy to answer them.
Thank you, John. Yes, I know you're always very helpful. Okay. Anybody? Wayne.
Yeah, Chair, Mayor, sorry. I think just again, if anyone's watching this, it's just an assurance that we have a number of processes, the internal audit, John Harvey, who you can see on the call with that beautiful skyline in Cramlington. And we also have some very robust governance within the council to ensure that there is absolute clarity over how money is raised, where it comes from, and importantly, how it's spent. So I think this is just one of those elements to provide absolute surety to the public. And thank you, John, for that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Wayne. Agenda item 7, training and development policy. Adam.
Yes, Adam.
Yeah, thank you, Town Mayor. Yeah, so this policy is pretty straightforward. It follows on from Councillor Swinburne's request at a previous council meeting to increase the training budget. The policy is basically there to show that the council is committed to train its staff and encourages staff to undertake training courses. It outlines the type of training provision, and the staff training will be reviewed and reported to personnel committees on an annual basis. If there's any questions on that or the policy there.
Thank you, Adam. Oh, Barry?
Yeah, I was going to say, I presume we'd be looking at new training after the elections, whenever they may be, when we might have different councillors here rather than beforehand.
Sorry, there's two separate policies. This is the staff training development policy, and then there's a separate policy which is the councillor training policy. So I'll answer that question in the next. Wayne?
Yeah, thank you, and thanks to Mark Swinburne for bringing this in. And I think it's actually a really good idea. And again, for anybody watching this, you might think, well, what's the point in spending money on staff to be trained to do stuff? Well, the actual answer is, what it does is it develops a very experienced and committed workforce. So I don't want to speak on behalf of members of the staff here, because I'm not a member of staff. But to my mind, this again demonstrates that we are maturing as a town council, that we recognise the importance of our staff and the commitment that they give our town. And as part of their continuous development and improvement, this is the commitment that the council shows to them in terms of offering training and development. So I think this is an absolute value for money proposal, which I absolutely support. And I hope that the staff fully take every opportunity to get training and to get development and stay with us, because the commitment to the town and the people of the town is really important, and this just reflects that. So I'll just commend that if I can, Mayor.
Okay. So that, Adam, you were speaking there about staff training development.
Yes, that's correct.
Right, sorry, my papers are in a muddle. That's why I'm confused.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're okay. So we have the council's approval for the proposed training and development policy for staff? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Right, Adam, it's you again for councillor training and development policy, agenda item 8.
Yeah, obviously very similar to the previous policy document, but this one is for councillors, and it, again, is to show that the council wants to ensure that their councillors are trained adequately, and it also outlines that they're required to do court training for likes of induction for new councillors, code of conduct, and those who wish to chair committees or be town mayor, they undertake chair training. Some training will be done in-house, some of it will be external through likes of NERI or NALC, and it's not just obviously these training. It could be a case of if there's a public speaking training that's been offered, councillors will be offered these types of training, and it's obviously outlined in the policy document.
Thank you. I have three hands. Barry, then Paul, then Mark. Barry.
I know, yeah. Sorry, I got that the wrong way round because it was the councillor one was in front.
Yes, I've got it the wrong way round.
So it just threw me a little bit.
Maybe there's some training required somewhere else.
No. All I was going to say was, firstly, I was going to say there's training at county council for county councillors, which I think sometimes was left a little to be desired, and they're looking at improving that in terms of the next session, or however you want to describe it, after the elections. One thing we have to do at county, which I think is very important, is planning training, and in fact I don't think you can sit on a planning committee without having taken pre-planning training. Now I think that would be, I know we've got a different role in planning at the town council, we're not actually physically saying yes or no who we are, but we're not doing the rubber stamp decision here. However, I do think that it would be important that we have planning training at the town council level, and I think it'd also be useful for us to keep a log that everyone's, so once you've done it, you've signed it, you've done it, and we know we can keep tabs that people have done it.
Because it's signed off.
You know, I know we're sat at home at the moment, it's quite easy to log on, but sometimes you miss things or what have we, and it never actually gets done. It's just those comments. Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Sorry, can I just come on that?
Oh, right, sorry. You want to respond? Sorry.
Obviously, if the council wish to make an amendment to the policy to state like so, because planning is part of the DSM committee, Development and Strategic Management, I could make an amendment to those who wish to sit on that committee or future planning committees if the future council's desires to bring planning committee back, that those who wish to sit on that committee must undertake planning training.
Yeah, I would propose that, yeah.
And the other note just about keeping records. It states in the policy that any councillor's training policy is recorded and kept in a file for each member.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Adam. Paul?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mayor. I speak this from 4 years ago. I was a new councillor, and from that experience, I often used to go to Bob's office and have a small chat with him about being a councillor, operating like a councillor, and he used to throw some bits of information and also small booklets. I don't know whether Bob remembers it. So I think that formed a very good training for me as well. So I was just thinking whether we can formalize this kind of thing instead of going elsewhere for a elaborate training. We can, you know, Bob is an experienced clerk, town clerk for a very long time. So we can allot a bit of time for Bob to spend some time with the new councillors, irrespective of the party, to tell them, to guide them through. It's kind of a mentoring, you know what I mean? I can go to some external courses and you know, get taught by lots of people in a compact 3 hours time. Or people can throw lots of literature on me, but that is less effective compared to somebody like Bob or someone equivalent giving a bit of mentoring. So for a new councillor, I don't know how Helen felt and how Helen you know, learned the tricks of the art. So I found that very helpful. So I thought it would be nice to formalize it within the house, some allotted time between Bob and the new councillors who need to get into the, you know, into the groove of things. That will be nice. So this is a suggestion probably you should consider. Of course, it depends on Bob's willingness and his time as well.
Okay, Paul, thank you for that. And Bob, do you wish to respond at this juncture?
Yes, sure. I think it's a good idea. Generally, as part of an induction approach, we do tend to use NELC and NERIO rather than the county council these days. I was a bit disappointed with the quality of some county training sessions, particularly the planning one, which I think assumed too much knowledge for people who went on it. The Good Councillor Guide, which Paul referred to, is actually a very useful document. But one thing I would suggest is that whatever happens at the next election, we will retain some experienced councillors, and I think in many ways a sort of mentoring approach between councillors running parallel with any mentoring approach between myself or the other officers on the council would also help. But the other thing is, I think what we found is not necessarily a reluctance or a reticence of councillors to take training, but I think a failure to recognise where the training needs are. And it's very important that you tell us what training you need, and we will provide that training. And, you know, please don't be shy about it. It's very important to get training. Equally, there is no substitute for experience. I think, as we all appreciate. But yeah, I think myself and my colleagues will be more than happy to provide whatever support for councillors, the current council and any future council. We'd be more than happy to do that.
Thank you, Bob. And I think it may also be, I hope I'm not stepping on dangerous ground here, but possibly through constructive criticism from colleagues. I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with that, but I mean, you know, obviously we'd have to take that further. Right, I've got Mark, Christine, or Helen. And Helen, sorry. Can I take you in that order, Mark?
Thank you, Mayor. And picking up a little bit of what the town clerk said there, I'm really pleased to see this on here. As Barry mentioned earlier, you know, 4 years ago, or almost 4 years ago, at a county level, training was a little bit sporadic, shall we say, although there were some specific requirements that you had to undertake. To join as a councillor, a new councillor, you need to know certain things, certain rules, certain procedures, at whatever level you become a councillor. But within this, and it's got like induction for new councillors, I'm really hoping that there's something in there for the likes of GDPR, which is very, very important. I would like to see something in there for structure, so people can understand what a town council does, what a county council does, so they understand what has to go where, and you know where the queries go. But it's not just for new councillors. This may come as a bit of a shock, and I'm not just looking at the audience in front of us here, but councillors don't know everything. And this isn't just for the general public, this is for some of the councillors as well. You know, they don't know everything and they need to learn themselves, because policies and procedures do change. And, you know, there are people, I know the town clerk says about mentoring, but there are people who've been councillors for a long time, and they don't know everything. They need to learn as well, because things have changed over the years. So they need to be open to training themselves and learning new things, new processes, new procedures, and they're saying moving with the times and getting to understand that, I'm going to say, they're not always right, because things have moved on. So it's not just for new councillors, it's for existing councillors as well, because laws change, procedures change. So it's training for everybody. So as the town clerk said, we, you know, upcoming elections, whenever they may retain some existing councillors, and there is a lot of knowledge and experience that can be passed over, but those existing ones still need to have training themselves. But make no bones about it, anyone becoming a councillor, it can be a big shock. You know, if you think that you're just going to, you know, get a couple of phone calls and a couple of emails and pass them on, it's not that at all. So if you can get training, it is very welcome indeed. But I'm really pleased to see this report here and putting something in place for some good structure.
Thank you, Mark. Some excellent points made as usual. Christine, everyone's moved.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I was just ready to raise our local area council at the county council did a training one evening, I think 2-3 years ago, for town councillors who were all invited, and I believe you attended, Lorraine.
Yes, I do remember it.
There wasn't a really good take-up, so maybe doing some in-house training on planning and other things would be a really good idea, and I fully support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Helen.
Hi, I'd just like to put my 2 pence in, being a newbie on the block, as Paul suggested. So I joined the gang, was it just over a year ago? Oh my God, what a culture shock. I came from a banking background of like 30 odd years, in tandem to that childcare and running the business. I had absolutely no clue that Cramlington had a town council or what it did, until Wayne invited me onto the team, and obviously we got elected. Then I was handed this manual from Adam, and I swear it was this thick, nearly broke my arm. Took it home, started reading it, and I thought, I can't do this, I can't do it. And you know what the best training was? On the job. When we went through the election, Wayne stupidly put my telephone number on, and guess what? People actually phoned me. They emailed me, they phoned me, and they came to my house. And I swear down, that was the best training I got, because I had to get my hands dirty, I had to get stuck in, and there was quite a few times where it got a bit, I've never been used to like customer face, and I've always been like techie people in the background. But you know what? I have actually learned from it. I feel more experienced now, obviously been on the job for over a year now. But there's been many a time when I've gone to my guru, Wayne, and said, come here, I think we need to have a chat. And he's come to my house and we've gone head to head. And I goes, you need to sit down and explain to me what the hell is going on, who's what, who does what, and who's responsible for what. And that's the best training as well. So I had a mentor, the best that I've got, Wayne. I had the manual from Adam, but you know what? The best was, the training was from the public, from actually speaking to people, getting my hands dirty and getting resolutions. And thank you, Daryl, and thank you, Adam, for helping me along the way with all the complaints that I got. Without you two, I couldn't have done it, like. But that's my training, and I wouldn't have swapped it, to be fair. I wouldn't have learned that from a manual.
No.
I think, as I said, it's a combination of things. But from the bottom of my heart, Wayne, thank you for bringing me on the team. I'm actually starting to enjoy it.
And Helen, I will hasten to add, going around your house was pre-COVID. So, like,
oh yes,
wow.
God,
yeah, yeah, sorry.
This was early days. This was when I hadn't a clue what I was doing, and I just needed guidance. And obviously, you're my partner on Northburn, but no, we haven't met since COVID. Obviously, I'm kind
Unless
of
it's socially distant.
I've kind of been let loose on my own now. I can actually deal with my own things, and I haven't actually consulted you for a while, have I, Wayne? So it goes to prove that we've done something right.
Right, thank you, Helen. I would agree with all your comments. And Christine, it was a long time ago we had that initial coffee at Bettini's on a Saturday morning. Our first meeting. Right, okay, I'm gathering from all of this. Can I seek the council's approval to the proposed councillor training? Mark?
Yep.
Lovely, okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, thanks very much. Dave, did you want to add anything? Or you've been very quiet tonight. Dave, you're on mute. Dave, you're still on mute.
Helen, just to let you know when Dave is on mute, I've joined a little bit late because I've just got in from work.
Yes, thank you, John.
Hello.
Hello, David. I wasn't sure. I appreciate you want the training. You agree with the training. Did you want to add anything?
I totally agree with Helen as well. There's nothing more better than practical training. That's the way you learn it, because quite honestly, it's fixed in your mind there because you've actually had to deal with it. You know, I'm a practical learner, so I love that kind of learning. And quite honestly, if you chuck a manual down in front of us, I'll have to read it 2 or 3 times before it gets stuck. You know, that's so I love, you know, face-to-face stuff. So yes, any training, I'm up for it. Quite honestly, it makes things run smoother.
Yeah, lovely. It's quite funny actually. If a firm is in trouble, it's usually the first thing that they let go is the training, which I think is a big mistake. Right, okay then, lovely. Thank you very much for all your comments. That was very lively. Agenda item 9, community and youth network update. And this is over to Maggie, please.
Thank you, Chair, Mayor Lorraine. Just to say that we have had our first community and youth forum meeting this year, and we've kind of put the structure in place for our service delivery now. So we're working within a framework, and that framework covers 4 areas, and that is all around that public sort of contribution about what people are doing, exactly like Wayne said, showing real value and real kind of recognition of what actually goes on in the community already. So it's identifying ways that we can really shout about that and value what's being done. It's the collaboration. It's about the different agencies getting together, even though they've got different kind of cultures within the organisations, different language, different jargon. It's about how we can kind of get them together to all kind of work and communicate effectively. Social inclusion is around the consultation that we do, how we ask people questions, how we get information, how we get their ideas back. And the last one is the community leaderships. Who are our leaders within the community? Who are these community leaders that kind of can get information out to a lot of people really quickly, especially times like this, you know, through the pandemic. So one of the projects within that, again, is the community allotment. So Northern Butterflies are, again, lots of work, physical work has stopped within that. with it being the cold weather and with the strict restrictions that's going on, but they're still kind of putting in for funding, leading the way. They have got £3,000 worth of funding now for a hut within there, so they can deliver their arts work as well as store the tools and things like that as well. They've had one unsuccessful funding bids, but they've had quite a few more that are in the pipeline. Eastfield Hub have had a fantastic Operation Sparkle that they did this Christmas time, where the organisations all got together. They were given gifts and donations that come from lots of different places, and they had open events where people could come and they could pick a gift, or they could pick a parcel or a food hamper for somebody that they thought was in need. So it wasn't about people coming and saying, you know, hands up, you know, I'm in need this year. It's about what they could do to recognise people within their community that might need that little bit of extra sparkle, and that was really successful, so much so that that's going to continue throughout the year, and again, lots of preparation to do that next year. Again, all things are going ahead with the asset transfer of the Eastfield Pavilion, and I know there's more to come about that later. The development of the Wild Spaces Hub, again, has gone from strength to strength. 750 trees have now been planted in Northumberlandia. There's, we're at the really closing stages of an application for 3,000 further trees. And John Harvey, thank you so much for your help looking over the application. And Northumberland Wildlife Trust are going to be leading on that application, but that application is on behalf of lots of different groups and organisations within Cramlington. We now have an arts hub. Again, these are all organic. These hubs, it's not because we are going out to try and look for hubs, it's about finding out what's in the community and bringing people together with a similar kind of values, ethos, and just getting them to say what they're doing and what they can do together. So that this is where these hubs are going from, and we have now got the arts hub, and there's local historians, there's local writers within that, so young writers group. We've got digital and lights artists, and they're all sharing their experiences and their talents and skills and come together to look at what they can do on behalf of Cramlington. And again, it was the first meeting of the food distribution hub. Again, because there's lots of people in Cramlington that are doing lots of things about food parcels. There's doing meals like East Hertford cooking in the community centre and out to the community. There's engaging the community that's doing lots of different things around food and ideas. So it's about bringing them all together and saying, this is what we do, showcasing this is what we do, and just having those conversations about how they can support each other to do that. And Lorraine chaired that yesterday, and I would say it was a really successful first meeting for that, with them saying that they want to continue this on a monthly basis. Again, there's new residents associations that have come together, and that's when people have had these socially distant street parties from VED. They've realised how much they enjoy getting to know their neighbours, and so there's been the development of a number of new residents association. With the Wild Spaces Hub as well, there's a plan for Doddington Woodlands. Again, thank you, Councillor Mark Swinburne, because he's kind of kick-started that project. And there's groups that's come on board with that. So there's now going to be a Friends of Doddington Woodlands group, which means they can further access funding through, they're going for Northumberland County Council Community Chest. So that was a real good start. You know, the funds, the small schemes grant, have I got that right, Mark? From Northumberland County Council was a real good start for getting some of that capital, but then the sustainability is in the community, you know, so it's what they can do to further the projects from their ideas and their skills and their talents. So that's another really exciting thing that's happening for Cramlington. Again, when we're doing these consultations, it's asking what would better, what kind of things do they need? And a big thing has gone from that actual face-to-face and physical delivery to going online, which is massive for a lot of these groups. So what we've put together is a virtual digital champions training. So this is going to be available over 6 sessions, and the first session is going to be all around Zoom. It's going to be given a presentation by Zoom. It's how to show these little hands up that people that I didn't even know that was there, that I've noticed since doing, you know, they're putting this training together. It's going to be things around QR codes. QR codes now know what they are massive. The information that we could be collecting and giving to people through QR codes. So if people won't use them if they don't know what they are. So this is going to be involved in this kind of training. It's going to be around safeguarding. Like Mark says, it's going to be around GDPR. So people actually can put stuff online safely. They know that they're protecting themselves. They know they're protecting other people within their organisations, within their groups, within their community by doing that well. The other part of it is our community showcase events. We were going to have a Love Cramlington celebration on Valentine's Day. That's not able to happen now just with the current restrictions and lockdowns. But what we are going to do is we're going to have a virtual event for International Women's Day. Again, we're going to do it with the Northumberland Wildlife Trust. We're going to get involved with lots of the groups, and we're going to get those virtuals and do this kind of online. So it's rather than just thinking we can't do this, we're looking to see what we can do in different ways. So that's going to take place on the 8th of March. And a lot of these things that we're doing on social media. So Steve and I've been getting together, putting together that social media strategy. And that's again how we can promote this people's positive contribution. I know Jane's going to talk more about that, and Steve's probably going to talk more about his unsung heroes and my neighbourhood heroes. And again, it's just recognising, catching people doing things good and shouting about it on their behalf. We're also become partners with Rise Northumberland. I don't know if people know that's a new name for Northumberland Sport. And they've got any movement campaign, and they were looking for partners to get involved in that. And I think they were quite surprised when the town council approached them, because I don't think they've had that in the past. But they've recognised what a good fit it is, that they've got all these resources. We've got access to that social media. So it's about what we can do together, exactly the same as what we're doing in the community groups, to kind of get Cramlington moving, to utilise the bike and the cycle walks that we've already got, to start to look at some of the assets that we've got and use them really, really effectively. I'm going to pass over to Steve for the next time. So I just think, so he can kind of talk about the youth bit as well, because there's so much going on, as well as the community side with the young people. And then we'll have some questions at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. Steve?
Thank you, Maggie. Yes, so I think everyone knows that I started my role at the back end of September. To start off with, it was just all about the goal for 2020 was all about asset mapping and establishing myself in the community and creating a bit more dialogue, really building the foundations for 2021. Between then and now, what we've managed to achieve as a youth network is we've created a young people survey, which was carried out with the CLV. Unfortunately, we had a string of suicides, as I think everyone's aware, and in response to that, we've connected some mental health organisations such as Mind and Shout, and we supported an event at the Church of Nazareth for young people to come down and speak to some trained professionals. On top of that as well, we end up sourcing a group to deliver some mental health first aid training, and we sent that out to all of the community groups that we deal with who deal with under 18s. As Maggie mentioned before, we've now got a social media strategy, and the first part of that was our Young Unsung Hero Awards, which received the most social media interaction the youth networks ever received. So that was really pleasing to see. We ran a community and youth survey, and we had 22 responses from that. Out of those 22 responses, we had 133 answers. 132 of them were positive and one was constructive. The keywords that kept coming out of that was our groups feel valued, heard and supported. So we're really pleased as a community and youth group that's the kind of responses we're getting from the people that we deal with. Going forward, we have announced something called the Cramlington Catch-Up, which is a bit of it's not a newsletter, it's just a way of getting targeted information to the groups that need it the most. So for example, that the mental health organisations, we were able to create on a database, we were able to send the groups that needed that information a picture with the Cramlington Catch-Up information on it, and that was all the relevant information to that group. So rather than a generic newsletter or something you've seen before, it's quite targeted and specific to the groups that need to know what they need to know, basically. We have the neighbourhood heroes, which I believe Jane will probably mention later on. We've just started out this year. We're getting some really good, consistent dialogue between ourselves and our residents. So that's really rewarding and really positive to see. And in the future, we're in the process of developing a schools program for the youth as well. So that's a kind of a watch this space moment, given COVID and the lack of responses we're getting. But our plan is to create a primary school structure that will tie into everything that we do in terms of our development framework. And that's it for me. If there's any questions, happy to answer them.
Well, thank you, Steve. The two of you have really hit the ground running. You make me dizzy when I listen to you. Any questions for either Maggie or Steve? Mark?
Excuse me, it's not so much a question, but it's just to pass something back to Maggie. I was in the town centre yesterday doing some essential shopping, just to point out. I bumped into two of our local police officers out on the beat. We were just having a quick bit of catch up about local issues, local matters, and I mentioned about the Doddington Woods project. They were absolutely over the moon. Obviously, it's something that has been a long-standing issue. I remember one of our previous PCSOs who said to us once that even when she was a young child, her mother said that it was an area that she had to stay away from. This is how long this has been ongoing. So, you know, obviously we've discussed it at length, but when I mentioned it to them yesterday and what we were working on, they were just so pleased that it was one of those areas that, you know, it's not something they're going to ignore. It's just less of a focal point for them once we get this up and running. And they were just like, oh, when's this going to happen? You know, when we've got it in place. So I was passing on some information. They might even, you know, get in touch with you to discuss it a bit more. But just recognizing that we're looking into these areas. And I said, this is, you know, probably going to be a first. We'll potentially be looking at more areas like this, linking them all together, and one by one start to like pick these off and transform them, and, you know, make them more areas where people want to go for the right reasons. And it just seemed to be such a smile. I'm going to say a smile appearing on their face. We all had masks on, you know. But
it was in their eyes, Mark.
It was, yes. And it's that bit of relief. You know, we all have a lot of things to contend with, but if we can start to transform these areas and make them, you know, better for people to go to for the right reasons, it helps everybody. So I just wanted to let you know that I bumped into them and they're really pleased at tackling these areas.
Yeah, no, that's really good news, and I'll definitely be in touch with them.
Great.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dave?
Yeah, the work that Steve and Maggie have been doing over Steve since September and Maggie well before that, especially in the Eastfield Hub, is absolutely fantastic. I was in with the Eastfield Hub from the very beginning because I'm involved in two of the actual one charity in our project who are involved in the Eastfield Hub, and the work that's been done down there, it's absolutely fantastic, considering it's an area that's needed help for a long time. You know, it's been disappointed over the years with people saying they would get the help and things like that, and it's pitted out, never happened. So it's extremely positive for the residents down there, you know. And if this work, I believe, is going to be set out around the whole of Cramlington, development of these hubs. And quite honestly, Cramlington, and I would say Lakes of Blythe and things like that, it's going to be a perfect example for, you know, each town to copy, basically. You know, but not.
We're in the lead again, Dave.
Huh?
We're in the lead again.
Yeah, but youth and community is sort of like the heart of what I've been doing for quite a few parts of my time of my life. I'm absolutely grateful for the fact that we've got two staff here that are doing an absolutely fantastic job. And may carry on. And I can assure you, if things change in the future, it will be carried on.
Oh, fighting talk. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dave. And
it's carrying on something good.
Yes, and thank you, Maggie and Steve. Thank you very, very much. Any further questions for Maggie or Steve? Okay, agenda item 10.
Sorry.
Oh, are you sleeping tonight?
No, there's a delay, there's a lag on my thing there. So sorry, we had a meeting earlier on this week, which, because the report Maggie's produced for tonight, I think doesn't do the huge breadth and the depth of the work which has gone on justice. It gives an overview. It's really good. I think the work which we'll be getting a further report on developments at Eastfield a bit later on in the meeting tonight. And I think particularly for councillors Christine and Norman Dunbar, who have been exemplary in their support for the Eastfield community, I think the developments that this council has brought on for Eastfield has been phenomenal. And I think they should be commended, both of them, for the work that they have done in their community. It's their community. I wouldn't dream to be stepping on anybody's toes in an area that I don't represent, but I think it is absolutely important that all of our communities in this town are supported, and I commend the report, and particularly Maggie, Steve, phenomenal job, wonderful. And when people see the breadth of the stuff that you're doing, well, it's not just what you're doing, it's the action and the impact which will happen and is already happening. I think they will be blown away. So well done, very happy.
Hear, hear. Yeah. Okay, agenda item 10, service managers reports. Over to you, Daryl.
Yeah, good evening. How are you doing, Mayor?
No, I'm good. Always.
Good stuff. So yeah, so despite of recent local and national restrictions in terms of service delivery, that hasn't been affected one little bit. We're still delivering essential and critical services in terms of grounds maintenance and street cleaning. However, we've had to, especially with our own workforce, we've had to, implement extra measures to make sure that our staff are safe and that they're keeping themselves safe and the members of the public safe that they're working around. So, for example, the Winter Works programme that's delivered by our partnership team, that's still progressing as expected. A few minor issues have been picked up, but they've been addressed. And we're also working that for ahead of themselves. We're managing to stick some extra bits in. For example, we're doing some footpath edging in Sevenoaks Park, and we're doing some pruning in Barnes Park. With regards to grounds maintenance, again, we still seem to be cleaning up a lot of areas that have been impacted from fallen leaf foliage. But if there's any more areas that seem to be causing issues on your wards, feed that back into us on ops and we'll get it sorted for you. Within the last 8 weeks, in terms of street cleaning, we've removed 20 incidents of fly tipping, and we've removed 8,300 kilograms of general street litter. Bush shelters are all up to date. There's no major issues. A couple of them have been subjected to graffiti. I will say that graffiti incidents are going down. There's a decrease in recorded incidents, and that's probably because we've got the campaign, as you know, ongoing, and the local neighbourhood policing team are out there trying to apprehend the offenders. Playgrounds are still operating as normal. However, we are monitoring them closely to ensure that they do comply with government regulations, and we're also regularly monitoring the government guidance in relation to playground facilities, just in case anything changes. Environmental enforcement, our dedicated Town Council Enforcement Officer has been busy in the last 8 weeks, has issued 9 warning notices for info that's in relation to fly tipping, littering, discarding tab dumps and things like that. He's uplifted 7 abandoned vehicles from the streets of Cramlington, and he's currently investigating 16 incidents of fly tipping. Fly tipping. Yes, so he's quite busy. He's got quite a big workload at the minute. Again, anything that you feel that needs looked at, just feed it into us. In terms of Councillor Connect, we're kind of wrapping that project up now. There is a few bits and bobs to get in. schemes that come to mind is the East Field entrance features, the stone entrance features with the herbaceous planting to the base of them. Works is due to start early February, councillors Dunbar's. And the goalposts for Northburn, they're due to go in on Tuesday the 19th for councillors Wayne Daly and Helen Welsh. So that's next Tuesday, the 19th. And then we've got 8 benches that are due to be distributed across the town as part of the Councillor Connect scheme. And then again, I've went across the graffiti. We've got that reward scheme in place with Crime Stoppers. To date, we haven't received any substantial information as of yet, but we're still pushing that campaign hard on our end. Likewise, it's getting pushed on the police's end and Crime Stoppers' end. As you can see, there's 20 incidents of acts of fly tipping in the past 8 weeks. But when you compare that to the statistics that are provided previous 8 weeks, we were hitting round about 50 to 60 incidents within an 8-week period. So like I say, it is decreasing. And like it's parking services data, our teams issued 16 fixed penalty notices within the past 8 weeks. Again, that will naturally decrease because people are more likely to be working from home, not going to shopping as often, the pubs are shut, all that sort of stuff. And then on a strategic level, we're doing a lot of work in relation to expanding the operations team, in-house operations team. So just to give you a bit of an update where we are in terms of that, we've quantified all of the environmental assets. So we've captured all that data and now we're working on time values. And the reason we do that is so that we know how many resources we need to do the job effectively and to a high standard. We now have a depot in Nelson Park Industrial Estate that's now fully operational. If any councillors want to have a look, just give us a shout and I can take you down after local restrictions are lifted, national restrictions are lifted. And we've got fleet and we've got equipment and all that sort of stuff that you would expect for an operations team on order. And that is it, Mayor. I'm happy to take any questions.
Right, yes, I know Barry's had his hand up.
Thank you.
Right, Barry, question.
Mortimer Chase. I don't know if any planters have gone in yet. I think we said it was January, February. Are they still on target for January, February? And can I ask specifically how many, what the spec of that is? That'd be useful to know. And also, just in terms of fly tipping, we've had a lot of instances at the southwest sector of the town, for want of a better expression, or bottom of Beacon Lane. And I know you've thanks for emailing us about that earlier in the week, but we seem to see quite a lot of, it's not just a tiny bit, it seems to be almost a tipper truck's gone down there, and including one time it was clear it'd come from a restaurant, and the restaurant, we could, like they see when you're at the chip shop and you can see the sign for that chip shop and their list of prices, it was clear which establishment it was. So has there been any progress in terms of prosecution or anything on that?
Yeah, in terms of I'll start with the first one, Barry, with the grounds maintenance. Yeah, we're looking, as I mentioned earlier in the call, we're going in next week to get all that Mortimer Chase area tidied up and proven back. We're disposing of the wooden planters that are just no good, and we're going to replace those planters with plastic, like for like, and like locations.
Right. Okay.
In terms of the flight,
that's next week, did you say? Sorry. Did you say next week? Was that?
Yes, next week.
Right. Okay. As soon as that, fantastic.
Yep. Once the teams get in, we'll be able to get a better idea of what we need to do.
Obviously, unless there's 20-ton of snow falls next week.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll keep you updated, Barry and Pat. I'll keep you updated.
Thanks.
In terms of the fly tipping, there is obviously a legal process that our environmental enforcement officer has to go through. I haven't had any feedback as of yet for prosecution. Well, I'll make a note of it and I'll ask our enforcement officer for an update.
Thanks for that. And I know it's hard work in this weather, so can you pass my thanks to all of the team for the hard work in this horrible weather at the moment?
Yeah, no worries, no problem. Cheers.
Thank you, Daryl. I see Mark and then Christine, please. Mark.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to come back on something you mentioned there, Daryl, I've got a couple of things. You mentioned about the benches going in across the town. Do you have a date or approximate date for those going in, please?
We're hoping to get a start next week, next Monday.
Oh, okay, thanks for that.
To start, yeah.
On the mention of the graffiti, and this was something else that came up in discussion yesterday with our local police, they also have seen, dare I say, a calming, which was in line with when the reward was offered. But they did mention that this same tagging has now stretched as far as North Tyneside and is in even Whitley Bay. So we don't know whether the offenders have moved or whether they're just branching out. But you know, hopefully, you know, keep my fingers crossed that we are seeing less in this area. Whether or not it's because the reward has been offered, we don't know. But as you say, you know, everyone is involved in trying to put an end to this. We still ask the public to be very vigilant and report anything that they can, whether it's reporting anything that needs clearing up or whether it's the potential of any offenders. We do ask people to be on top of this and let us know. Thank you.
Is that Mark? Is that the guests?
There's two tags.
Oh, Arco.
Yeah, Acro and
Acro.
Guest.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Good. Oh well, let's hope they're away from our area. Not that I wish it on anyone else. Christine.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor. Darryl, thank you for the good news about the entrance signs. That's fantastic. I've been really looking forward to them going in. Regarding the black tubs that I've got at the moment, I do know that the community groups wanted some within Cramlington, and I was quite happy to let them go anywhere they wanted. Have they been distributed yet? Because I definitely know that Eastfield Pavilion wanted 3 the last time I had a chat with them down there. So that would be good if you could get that sorted out. And I just want to say thanks for getting the stops down at Eastfield Paint. It's had some really bad graffiti on it. That was good. Thank you for that and getting the other ones cleaned up. But yeah, thank you. I'm glad everything is going. And I do also have a bench to go somewhere within the ward. So that in hand as well.
In terms of the black tubs, Christine, I've got a list that was provided by the Youth and Communities team. They are going to be circulated to those school sites. Most of them seem to be school sites. There is some going to Eastfield Community Centre. Once national lockdowns lifted, we'll get those to the schools and we'll get them on site.
I did ask for 3 to be retained at Eastfield Grange in front of the shop, because the more the tub that would be in a street entrances. So I'd still like 3 there and have them planted out, and if not, I'll plant them out.
Yeah. That's in the programme. That's fine.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Darryl. Right, the committee are asked to note the report.
Oh.
Okay. Oh, David, sorry. Yeah, go.
Yeah, it's just to follow up on what Mark was saying about turn up in Tyneside, North Tyneside. It actually turned up when it was at its height in Cramlington. So I would surmise somebody either lives in or works in North Tyneside, and you know, or the same in Cramlington, and they've actually targeted 2 places, unfortunately.
But it is nice that the graffiti is going down in Cramlington.
Oh God, yes.
Uh-huh.
I don't say it. I'm just giving you.
Thank you for that observation, David.
There is some substantial intel that the police hold currently, but it's too sensitive to mention him this part of the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, Darryl. Paul?
A special thanks to Darryl and David Foy, who cleared up the mess, fly tipping mess in Colt Park very recently. They have done an extremely efficient job, and quite a lot of residents are appreciating. So I just want to pass on to you, Darryl, as well as to David Foy, please.
Thank you, Paul. Oh, another compliment. Another compliment, Darryl. Mark?
Not used to these.
No. Mark?
If I could just come back on one more thing. It's thanks to all the team that have been involved on the clearance of litter through the town. We're well aware that there has been an increase of litter since the initial lockdown. And, you know, to be honest, the council don't place litter there. You know, it doesn't come from the council, but we have to clear it up. We have increased significantly the amount of work that's gone into clearing litter up. I think, and Darryl might correct us on this, we've got somewhere in the region of in excess 200 plus litter bins across the town, and that doesn't include the ones on the retail areas which belong to like Manor Walks, etc. So there's a significant number of litter bins. We know that people are out taking their daily exercise more, walking the dogs, etc. And we're doing over and above what we used to do with regards to clearing litter, and all the extra work that goes into the staff getting out there clearing the litter means they can't do the other work. So when it comes to edging and bits and pieces, pruning hedges, they have to come off that to clear the litter. So if people are wondering, well, why hasn't that work been done? But at the same time they're complaining about litter, they can only do one job at a time. So yes, we're happy to go out and clear that litter up, but we would much rather that the council didn't have to clear it up in the first place, because the waste bins were being used or people were taking the rubbish home. So it is a bit of a trade-off that if a council has to put all the extra resource into clearing up rubbish that people have dropped, then the other work can't be done that is planned and needs to be done. So it's just asking the public to please use the bins, please take your rubbish home when you're out on your daily exercise, and the council can continue doing the planned work that it needs to do.
Absolutely. Point well made. Thank you, Mark. Right. Comms, agenda item, well, it's 10B, I suppose, and 11 instead of members' questions. This is a late edition, but better late than never. Jane, please, Communications 2020 review.
Thanks, Town Mayor. You've all hopefully received the report, but I think it indicates through the statistics, it tells quite an interesting story of how the council and the public interacted last year. On the website, over 2/3 of the articles were connected to coronavirus, and the website now has a coronavirus advice tab on the top of the home screen where all those articles can be accessed. Last year, the website gained 26,000 new users, and 74% of people accessed the website on their mobile phones. Regarding social media, we have 3 Facebook pages and an Instagram account. Facebook is by far the most popular way that people access information about the council. The main Cramlington Town Council Facebook page has the most followers, but because Maggie and Steve are now populating the engagement and youth pages, I do expect those numbers to go up considerably over the next year. Interestingly, 70% of viewers of social media are women and 30% are men. But the analysis of the monthly figures shows, unprecedented is a word that was used a lot, but if you look at the figures for last year, it really was an unprecedented year as far as the council and the social media figures were. In January, we had a reach of just over 53,000 items, included the neighbourhood plan, that seems a long time ago now, and the Mayor's Denim for Dementia campaign. February, there was a similar figure, a reach of over 53,000. In March, the reach jumped up to over 164,000. The Facebook page had 115 articles, and this compares with the previous month where we had 26 articles. March 13th was the first time that the word coronavirus was used through council communications. But the strength of Facebook as a communication tool became apparent as the outbreak developed. I published information from a wide range of sources, as well as the town council. We had the Northumberland County Council, the Director of Public Health, directly from .gov sites, signed up to their alerts. We had various healthcare providers, and many Cramlington-based organisations used the council to put their information out. April gave us our biggest figures, with a reach of over 283,000. So as well as important updates, we took a conscious decision to highlight the many positive stories in the town. Some of these were like the little boy Alfie, who gave a drawing to his bin men because he realised they were doing such good work. There was a mum who dressed as a bear and had a video of her dancing around the streets, cheering everybody up. And there was a little girl, Ava Jane, who made posies and delivered them to her neighbours with little positive messages. But two of our most read articles still concerned our core news, and these were articles about fly tipping. Many viewers criticised the closure of the county waste sites as a reason for increased fly tipping. There was one video recorded by a councillor from Nelson Hill, and it showed the NHS clap. You could hear from the top of the hill the clap resounding around the town. And that story alone had a reach of over 36,000. In May, the figures were still high. We had a reach of over 200,000, and that included the VE Day celebrations. In June, the numbers started to come down. We went down to 77,000, but articles reassured that the council was still working, we were still there for everybody, and we still wanted the public to get in touch with us. In July, the figures dropped to 51, so that was about normal figures. August, similarly, 52,000. In September, we had a reach of 56,000, and this included the launch of the Love Cramlington Awards. And throughout the summer, we were also aware of issues. We had to be very careful promoting events because we couldn't, as a council, be seen to attract crowds to any events. So there was like a balance to be played on how we approached those type of articles. In October, the figures jumped up to 86,000. This was mainly because of the launch of the council's free school meal holiday vouchers. That story alone had a reach of over 44,000. There was communication work done over the weekend to ensure that everyone was ready for the expected response on the Monday morning when the telephone lines opened. In November, we had a reach of over 67,000. This is when we launched the virtual Christmas, which replaced the traditional switch on of lights. And groups and individuals were asked to send in videos. We had a great response, and the videos were played in manor walks as well as on the council's own channels. In December, we had a reach of 113,000. The teaser video of Santa flying over Cramlington was very popular, and thanks to resident Graham Hare, who somehow persuaded Santa to take him up with him for a little ride around Cramlington. Well done, Graham, that was fantastic. And we also announced the winners of the Love Cramlington Awards, and those stories had a reach of over 42,000. And I want to thank the councillors and staff for their help in announcing the winners. Everybody was involved, so thank you very much for your help. So looking ahead, we're in the process of launching an interactive calendar. This project's been headed up by Steve, and next week we're going to be asking for information to go in it in preparation for the calendar going live. And this information will also go into the directory on the website. And we've just introduced Neighbourhood Heroes. The Love Cramlington Award showed how much people like to hear positive news about Cramlington. And this week we featured a singing caretaker. And within an hour that story, it had a reach of over 1,000. It's had over 3,000 engagements, 73 comments and 51 shares. And it shows that the residents welcome hearing good news stories. As Wayne said, it shows how the council is connecting to the people and the residents. But it's vitally important that we continue with our core articles that relay the council's strategy and actions. So I would just like to say thank you to all the councillors and staff for their help in creating these articles and videos.
Thank you, Jane. Another busy lady. Barry, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to say, this last 12 months, the comms have been more important than probably any other year that I've been a councillor or been involved in local politics, one way or another, and that's going back 16 years, I'm afraid now. But that's really commendable, and I'm so pleased that we've been able to get out there, have these excellent comms strategies at a time when it's been so important to do that. I mean, it's not a lot of the time, it's the only way we can communicate through people is through social media at the moment, because we can't get out there, we can't, you know, knock on a door and say, you know, this is going on, or what have we. So I'd just like to say thank you for that, and commend this council for what has been absolutely vital in the last 12 months. And I'm really looking forward to the next 12 months, where let's just hope that we don't have to do this kind of communication strategy, that we can actually build on what we've done, you know, building the good things, obviously, but you know, do things which involve people when we're allowed out again, and all things like that. So really, thanks a lot for that, Jane. It's been really helpful.
Yes, thank you, Jane. That was excellent. Mark?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and thanks, as Barry said, thanks to Jane. If you think back, some of the stuff that, you know, the communications that used to come out, you know, were not the best, and to look at the interest that we've got in the community, and let's face it, as a town council, we have a very small team. We're the second largest town, and that's only just second, by the way, second largest town in Northumberland. And we're reaching out and getting these types of figures on stories. We're connecting with our community from such a small council. That's absolutely phenomenal, for the reach that we have through social media, which is, you know, pretty much the thing of today. It's how people connect nowadays, and you know, the information that Jane's been able to pull, even to the level of, you know, so many males and so many females, and but digging down to which stories really hit home, you know, and possibly which don't. And thankfully we haven't used any stories which have got our accounts closed down, shall we say. You know, we're still able to operate and still got everything running. But it just goes to show what can be done and what needs to be done, as Barry has said, to keep in touch with our residents. And even after, once we're all up and running again, I am, you know, hugely confident that we will still be keeping in touch with our residents in the right way, because we're providing the information that they want to know and that they need to know, whether it's a COVID story or whether it's just the right story that our residents are interested in. We just seem to be getting it right, and it's not something that we're just going to give up. We're just doing the right thing, and I'm really pleased with both Jane and all of the team for the information that's getting out to our residents. It's brilliant, and thanks very much.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful meeting, so positive. Just thanks to everybody. I think we should all give ourselves a mammoth clap on the back. Obviously, Christine and Norman, you can help each other out, but I live on my own and it's quite hard with the arthritis, but never mind. Anyway, last question. Are there any members' questions, please? Last agenda item. Whoa, the two of you went up together. Mark, I'll give you a rest, Wayne.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question. So as part of the budget process and the commitment that we've shown as a town council over the last year, particularly in terms of supporting play, we made an application to the Public Works Loan Board for, I think, £150,000. And that's about investing into our play for young people in our communities in every part of Cramlington. I was just wondering if someone could give me an update on that application, see whether it's been
Looks like
approved.
Adam's up for that one.
Okay.
Thank you, Town Mayor. Yeah, I can confirm that we were successful in our PWLB loan application. The council has received £150,000 loan, sorry, £150,000 loan, which will be repayable over the next 10 years. And that has meant that we have now placed the order for the playground redevelopment works to start. That should be commencing within the next 8 to 9 weeks. I have made a priority for Alexander Park to be done first, but I'm just waiting to hear back to see if there's any most of the equipment that is provided by Hags is internal and provided through their Selby manufacturing unit, but I'm just waiting to see if there is any bits of equipment that are coming from overseas, which may delay that slightly, but work should start within the next 8 to 9 weeks. And just on the back of that, also we have received funding for an outdoor gym to be installed at Horton Park, which everyone's aware of. That works should be commencing in March. It could have been provided earlier, but due to obviously outdoor gyms being closed due to COVID, we've delayed that till March now.
So if I can, just come back on that. I know we're all praising each other, but I don't think people are aware of the huge amount of work which Bob and Adam and our very small, compact, value for money team have put into putting the application to central government for that 150,000. And I know that Adam personally is the one who wrote the bid for the gym equipment. So just want to put a huge thank you to you, because genuinely
well done, Adam.
Appreciated. I know you think we moan all the time, you know, but actually we don't. We actually really love you. It's a big loving. We love Cramlington. We love the staff.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark and then Paul.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm after seeking some clarification. I've been contacted this week regarding an issue which isn't from my area, and I have referred the residents back to their own councillors, but received responses straight back again saying that they've already spoken to them. The issue is around a bollard placement on another area. As I say, I referred them back there and said, it's, you know, unfortunately it's not my area. You need to speak to your councillor, and they said they've already spoke to them, and unfortunately they're blaming it on the council. And it's just happened, you know, beginning of this week. So I'm just trying to seek some clarification with regards to bollard placed, is it Clifton Road allotments? Because they're saying it's the council's fault, and that's not where it should have been placed. So, and it's only because they're now coming back at me, you know, as chair of the DSM. So if I can ask the town clerk what the issue is, please, and some clarification on that.
Just 1 second. John's put his hand up immediately there. I don't know who wants to go first, Bob or John?
Well, I may clarify things for John. I don't know what he's going to say.
Okay, John, do you want to wait for Bob? You know, don't have to fight, but someone needs to go.
No, I'll wait for Bob, but all I'll say is, obviously, you know, Mark said it there, I have had no contact from whoever's put this initial complaint in. Nobody's contacted me by email, by phone, or anything at all. So I'm completely in the dark about this. So this is the first time I've heard about it.
Okay, John, thank you. Well, I know Bob knows about it, but thank you, John.
I'll try to be as brief as possible, Chair, because it's an ongoing one. Some time ago, under Councillor Anne Mitchison asked for a bollard to be put up at the Conewood Drive entrance to the dolly heap. And the purpose of this was really to stop
vehicular access
by allotment holders, but also, you know, surprisingly, it may seem surprising, but it has happened, access by joyriders onto the dolly heap. We actually inserted that, and then of course inevitably we have complaints from the allotment holders who want to drive their vehicles to the rear of their allotments. Now, over the years, this has caused tremendous damage, and it's really churned up the ground. And so we were quite happy that Anne had come forward with this proposal. Then I think it's one particular allotment holder continues to complain that he can't get vehicle access. We stood by our guns, and we've also sort of asked the county council what their position was, and the county council have come back and they've said, yes, we think it's good that that bollard has been put there, and it should remain. One of the issues they quoted, of course, was health and safety, with the possibility of cars driving along the dolly heap, but also the fact that they did cause significant damage, particularly in wet weather, which has to be put right and maintained. The complaints continued. I've had Councillor Swithenbank onto me saying he's also received complaints. So in response, we've said to the allotment holder, we don't want you to drive over there unless you have to, and we certainly don't want you to drive over there when the ground is soft and you'll cause damage. But if the ground is hard, and we will actually take the bollard down and allow you temporary access. So, you know, again, no problem. Obviously, that's not adequate for them, and they want constant access at all times of the year, irrespective of ground conditions. And frankly, we're not willing to do that. I think we've done a lot to try and placate the situation, but equally, you know, it's not just about the allotment holders. I don't know where this particular allotment holder who is making the complaint, where he lives, but we've got the interests of the residents whose houses back onto the dolly heap and to the allotments. We've got to consider their concerns. So my position on this one is that, yes, we will remove the bollard on occasion when the ground conditions are suitable, but it should remain because it is a useful thing to have, and we shouldn't simply jump because we get one complaint from one allotment holder. And that is my position on this one, Chair.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you for that clarification. And just to confirm to John, it wasn't you that they said they'd contacted John. It was your colleague, should I say, but they were saying that your colleague had confirmed that they hadn't asked for the bollard to be put there, and that's why I was seeking some clarification. So, you know, and it's just when they start coming back and saying, oh, it's the council's fault, and it's only happened since, you know, this council took over, etc. It's just, you know, I just need to know what exactly is going on. And, you know, the town clerk confirmed that it was requested to be put in that place. So I just needed to know. Okay.
So it needs to be treated gently. John, I'm sure you're the man for the job. Oh, hang on, your colleague has his hand up. David?
Just reiterate what Mark said. He's not the only council that's been contacted. I've been contacted by said allotment holder, and I basically gave him the same response Bob basically just said.
Good.
You know, because quite honestly, there's a dispute of where it was supposed to go, and quite honestly, it took the council to decide whether it gets removed or stays the same. And if there is damage being done, quite honestly, it should stay where it is.
Yeah, just to add, Chair, just to say, you know, that we have made every effort to placate the allotment holder. We have offered him the possibility of relocation to another site.
Oh, I'm sure you have, Bob. Well, we've spoken about it, but I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
I bet that went down well, Bob.
We didn't get a response. Yeah.
Well, we're in charge. I mean, as a council. Right. Any further questions? No. Okay. Thank you.
We're all on the list.
Stand up.
Oh, 1 minute. Hang on. You're all speaking.
I am on the list.
Paul, you are. Sorry, I wrote it down, but then you disappeared. Right. Come on.
I was here. I'm here.
Well, your screen went blank.
Okay. Right. Can I ask?
Of course you can.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. There are two questions. One is bigger. The land opposite to Southfield Lee entrance and before A189, it has got some kind of a controversial case history. There was the owner wanted to build a caravan site.
Sorry, Paul, just to clarify, is that the land in between the 1505 and the 189?
That is correct. A189.
Thank you.
That is correct.
Thanks.
And so all the residents fought with the help of the council. The decision was reversed. Now the land has been sold. There is a sold sign in that land. So naturally, people are a bit anxious who the new owner is, what they are going to do, because they don't want another ugly development coming up there, which will, make living a little unpleasant. So if it is possible to explore who the new owner is, because it's a legitimate public interest in this whole thing, given the history. So that would be nice if town council can make some effort in official or unofficial capacity, whatever it is, to explore who is. Yes, Bob. Thank you.
Chair,
Yes, Bob.
Yeah,
I assume sorry, Bob. I assume there's no name up where it's got sold. I assume there's no name up to say.
No.
Obviously not. Okay, Bob, sorry.
I mean, I think we could simply ask the agent responsible, but he'll probably tell us to get on our bike. So I think what we'll have to do is wait until it's registered with the land registry, and take it from there. I very much doubt that whatever proposal comes up for that site, that the county council would allow any permanent use that would cause significant damage to the residents. I mean, certainly it was an absurd suggestion to have it for a caravan storage area. Previously, it had been refused permission to convert it to allotments, private allotments. I don't know what else. I mean, the best use for it is clearly some form of nature reserve.
Right on the edge of the A189.
Well, what else do you use that piece?
They're not going to get much sleep, are they?
I'm sorry to butt in, Chair. I'm just conscious that I would suggest Councillor Swinburne, Daly, and Christine Dunbar are on planning. I've previously put a motion, put it forward for refusal. I don't wish to make any comment or hear very much more on the subject. And so I can go in with an open mind should another application come forward. Thank you.
Okay. As I've said what I need to say.
It was listed for £90,000, so whoever's bought that, if they bought it for that price, have obviously got some reason for it.
Mm.
Yes.
I would say they've had their eyes taken out. Who would want to buy this? Hey ho. Okay, any further questions, comments, observations?
And a very small question. The most of the drainage holes in Alexandra Park is completely filled up, blocked up inside. So the water, we are having an unusually wet summer, and the water just stays on. I have noticed in the summer itself, I failed to raise it. Some of the drainage holes there are completely filled with earth, and the grass is growing. It's very interesting to see grass and weed coming up. So we need a kind of a comprehensive scheme to clear the whole drainage thing, not just one or two, but the entire area. So that's my...
Did you not bring this up for Daryl's attention? Because I know he
I don't know whether I brought it up earlier on, Daryl, but this is now it is becoming gaining a critical mass. So I might have brought it up to Daryl. I do not know. Yeah.
Right. I think that was mentioned today on WhatsApp, and I think that was the suggestion given. Sorry, Daryl.
Yeah. I've been sent a few emails today actually about Alexandra Park drainage. So I've referred that to the local highways inspector. And we're going to try and meet up next week to have a look, because there's some drainage, I wouldn't say issues, very, very minor issues coming off the sensory garden. So we're going to have a little chat about that. So whilst we're there, we're going to have a look at the other bits and bobs that have been.
I mean, obviously, it is difficult this time of work, time of year, because it can become a bit skatey, can't it, with the ice. Bob.
Yeah, well, one of the key issues, Chair, and it's not just in relation to Alex Park, it's in relation to many areas across the county, is the very limited gully emptying resource that is available to the county. I think I recall that there was only one gully emptier available for the whole of South East Northumberland, and clearly it's something that you have to keep on top of with the sort of increasingly wet summers and winters that we're experiencing. So we need to pass that message on to the county council.
Yeah, that is correct. They only have 3 gully tankers for the whole of the county, one for the southeast, one for the west, and one for the north.
What are they? Gullies? I don't get that thing. Can you repeat that?
Gully's the term for the drain that sits between the road and the curb.
Ah, right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Does that help you? Yeah. So Daryl, you'll obviously be.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. Yeah.
Okay. To Dave and then Barry, please.
Dave. Sorry, Dave.
It's just to let Daryl know I'll be giving him a ring about something similar around Cragside as well tomorrow.
Thank you, David.
Barry, take it away.
But you'll keep Daryl informed, won't you? Obviously.
I don't want to extend things, but I've emailed today about flooding in my area in terms of gullies being filled up. I've had a reasonably positive response, so I just wanted to put that on the record that the council had given me a very positive response today, and I'm quite happy to give Paul a message about who I'm emailing for him to send the same emails across.
Thank you. Okay, can we close, or can we move on to part 2 now, please? Adam,